It is the Fantasy Golf Degenerate podcast for the Cognizant Classic, aka the Honda Classic back in the day. And as always, this show is brought to you by Underdog. Use code Mayo for up to $1,000 deposit bonus over at Underdog. Me and Kenny have been crushing in the Underdog streets. Speaking of Kenny, Kim on the couch. What's cooking, dog?
What's up, man? I don't know if you could call it, I guess it was entertaining. It was sweat-filled. It was aggravating. But a great story to come out at the end. With Brian Campbell winning this past week, I thoroughly enjoyed watching everybody crumble on Sunday. Fun watch, good for Brian Campbell. Of course, both Byron and I had Pock Eater as an outright, so that definitely stung. I'll say that when usually missing an outright, getting second, it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. It's happened so many times in the last 5-6 years since I've started gambling on the show that I've gotten used. There was a year, I think 2019 or 2020, somewhere in those 2 years where in a 12-month span I had 14 runner-ups, and they didn't have each ways back then. Didn't have each way betting back then. So you sort of learn to cope, right? You sort of learn to cope, and you sort of get the idea of how to deal with it. Well, here's the issue of what happened on the second playoff hole. Because when you know that you're about to win a golf bet, that feeling is like a really, really great feeling. It's like a weight lifted off your shoulder.
As well.
Adrenaline, a weight lifted off your shoulders. I compare it to getting like a happy ending after a massage, right? You get that relief. You get that joy, right? Of that happy ending after, Justin Tucker, blah, blah, blah. You get that feel, that great feeling after it's over. Right. And so that's sort of like in the same mold of when I win a golf bet. OK, it's not as good as fucking, but happy ending. Very, very nice. Hooray. Yes. And you feel lighter. You feel like the weight is lifted off your shoulders. You ever gotten a good happy ending? You feel like, you lost some weight down below. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's good enough. And so, when Brian hit that ball, you knew it was going out of bounds. You saw the shot tracer, right? And it's like, that's going like 50, 60 feet out of bounds. Like it wasn't even close. And so while that ball was in the air, that feeling came over my body, right? That joy, that relief, that you're gonna win, right? And so, normally when you're sweating a guy in second place, or, you're sweating a guy, you don't get that feeling until, the last putt drops in normally, right? But this is a playoff. It's different. It's one-on-one. It's the only two guys left. And that ball is going OB. And so for a split second, I felt that feeling. And then when that ball bounced and hit like 27 trees in there and then came tumbling back out, it was just the worst feeling that you could have. Like, I don't know if you can unejaculate, at the massage table, but if you could, that's what it would feel like. Like it was horrible. I wish I just didn't feel that initial feeling and it wouldn't have hurt so bad because I was counting $1,500 that I was going to win. Instead, I only won $270 because of the each way. So that sucks. Now, granted, I will say the Brian Campbell story is great. The guy was one of the best college golfers out there in 2014, 2015. Tried to make it on tour, tried to make it on the Korn Ferry Tour. Really did not, succeed until this year. And he's 31 years old now. He finally got his card. He had 3 runner-ups last year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Still has not won a professional event prior to this week. And to get that exhilaration, to get that job security, really, really kudos to him to do it, especially on a course where honestly, he shouldn't have competed.
Who was it? Tom and Marty's on X said it was a Toyota Prius leading the Daytona 500. That's the equivalent of what Brian Campbell was in the lead, with like a Tesla Cybertruck chasing him down, and apparently not good enough. But Jesus Christ, Kenny. I mean, is Brian Campbell the head of like the Tarzan cartel down there, like the jungle cartel? Like, what the fuck, man?
He speaks for the trees, bro. It's crazy.
Dude, it's like the ball was in the trees for so fucking long.
Yeah.
It was in there forever.
It didn't like hit and it just directly bounced out. It went in. It went deep in. Hit like Plinko, like the old game on Price is Right. It was just going all over the place. And then somehow it came out. And it's not like those trees were like spread apart. The shit was like a forest.
It's
up in that
jungle.
bitch. It was a fucking forest that he hit that shit into. Oh man, it hurt so badly. And
it like
right when it came out, I knew.
Yeah. I said to Caitlin as we were watching, this feels exactly like the Nico Echeverria and Nick Taylor situation. He's gonna put hitters in the perfect spot and he's gonna lay up. And it felt even more like, Kenny, the Grayson Murray W when he hit it through the palm tree. Remember when he drove it into the palm tree off the tee in the second hole of the playoff?
Yeah.
And then betting on Mr. Short Putt.
Yeah.
Like, anytime a guy goes into the playoff for me, it's like over. Like, it's fucking over, bro. Like, there's no way I'm winning a playoff outright, ever. It's just never happened. And it happens in the most disgusting fucking ways. In the worst way, dude. That is one of the worst things you'll ever see on a golf course.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was not great. It hurt me. Now, luckily enough for me, I did hit the each way for that. That was the 6th each way of the year. Now, the only issue, I just realized I had 3 of my each ways finish runner-up. So this year already. So I had 3 runner-ups in 8 events, which is not great. And I had 2/3. So all of my each ways have been inside the top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah, so I've had 6
Well, at least they're
of
not
them.
getting chopped.
Yeah, they're not getting chopped. So that's nice. And I've only hit the one outright with Nick Taylor. But it was a good GPP week, good cash week. Cash game cornerstones. Last week finished 4th, 6th, 10th, and 17th. Back-to-back, really strong weeks in cash. It was funny. I was telling the guys prior to the show, Mike is in control of our Fantasy Golf Degenerates Twitter feed. And he's been posting a lot more information out there. Go follow at FG Degenerates on X. And he went out and posted my cash game cornerstones, gave a nice little mini write-up based on what I said on the show. And I didn't really push it because by Wednesday night, I was not feeling good about my cash game cornerstones. I never change them, right? And if I do change them, which I've done maybe once, twice in the hundreds of weeks of cash game cornerstones I've done on this show. And so I just didn't push it. I didn't retweet it. I didn't do nothing because like I really was worried. I thought, man, these guys are going to blow it. It ended up doing well. Also the GPPs. I was in 7th.
Yes.
In the $100 single entry going into Sunday. Now, Pock Eater losing dropped me out of the top 40, but still, still a good week. I won like a few $100 on that. But funny enough, the cash lineup was actually my best GPP lineup. That's why you always play your cash lineups in GPPs. It actually beat that lineup in the single entry by about 30 points. And it came in 60th, I think, in the $12 single entry. So I had a couple, and then the other one finished like 40th, I think. So a couple of good GPP finishes, solid week, doubled my money in DFS. So that was solid. Also had Jaeger and Akshay in the Slider Cup, and had Jaeger in the one and done for Mayo. I'm inside the top 400 now in the Mayo Cup. So just need to hit one of these outrights here, and I've been close. Like I said, 3 runner-ups going this week, but it needs to happen, and I'm hoping it happens this week.
Kenny, I haven't had a winning week in January or February now. I went into Sunday with I posted it on X, not to like victory lap early, but just to show people how quickly shit can go wrong. I was up 12 units. Like, if the tournament ended on Saturday night, Pochita wins, and then I win 5 units in my placements market. He loses, so you lose your 8 units there. And I had 3 guys ejaculate themselves out of the top 20 and top 40. Like, we had just fear boners just doing the wrong things the whole week. And this is now 8 weeks in a row. Like, I had a 13 unit swing in one day because of just random shit. Like, and I don't know if I've ever had a year like this. This is just,
Byron.
Cannot click Kenny a bet right now. Like, I get fucking the shakes because I don't believe it's going to win.
Byron,
Like,
what podcast are you fighting for?
Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast.
One more time. What podcast are you fighting for?
The Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast.
Does defeat exist on this podcast?
I mean, people like feet on this podcast, but defeat, no, does not exist.
Does fear exist on our podcast?
No.
I sure as shit know pain does not exist either on this podcast. So stop acting like a little pussy. Go out there and kick the living shit out of this betting card this week. Get all these negative shits out of your mind. Shout out Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso on Cobra Kai. If you haven't watched Cobra Kai yet, you really should, especially if you're my age. But what podcast do you fight for?
FGD, baby. Let's go.
All right. Get this weak shit out of your mind. It's been a couple of months. Fuck it. Get it out.
Let's go.
Get it out. Quiet. Get it out. Go in. Don't worry. Be yourself and knock this week down. It's a new week.
New week.
New week.
We're not weak. It's a new week. Let's go.
All right? So get
We're
your
going.
shit together. Get it together. There's no fear. There's no pain. All right? Cobra Kai never dies. All right? All right. So let's get through this fucking week. Let's get it done. Let's not worry about what's happened in the past. And you have a system. You have a way that you've been doing shit for years now. It has been successful. Very successful. Don't let a couple of bad months change what you're thinking. Change what you're doing. Make you lose confidence. These things happen. It is golf betting. It is golf betting. It is hard. You're going to go through these ups and downs. And this is the week we get back up. This is the week we get back up.
Florida's the week, Kenny. It's going to be March. You know, by the time these bets roll in, it's going to be March. And we're going to be marching on, baby.
There we go.
I'm ready. I'm fucking ready.
Right.
I was ready last week, but I'm even more ready this week. You know, it's going to take more than just this to keep me down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all right.
You know,
that's what I like to hear.
It's not gonna break me. I might be a little bent right now, but I'm not broken. Okay. We'll get scared straight here. Chop, chop.
All right.
So,
all right, that sounds good. So anything else you want to talk about from last week's? I mean, we only talked about 2 golfers. Other guys like Hogard seemed impressive to me.
Well, let's just chat about how bad the golf was, which a lot of people are like pissed off. They're like, oh, how can we be watching this? How does the winner go to Augusta? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this was the Mexico Open. Like, it's one of the most difficult tournaments to win on the PGA Tour schedule. Evidently, like, it's got people that are doing this stuff for the first time. This is like the whole point, the epitome of separating the tours into the signatures and the non-signatures. This is the backbone of the PGA, and we're watching these guys achieve lifelong dreams. Like Scotty Scheffler wins a tournament. That's not a lifelong dream that he's achieving. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are looking at these guys, literally blue-collar motherfuckers going out there and just getting promoted to CEO of the company they've worked at for 184 Korn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour start for Brian Campbell. You know, so Aaron Rye, blue collar, can't seem to hold on to a lead. I mean, just everyone, anytime they got like hot potato, like they got the Mexican Open trophy in their hands and they just like, I don't want this shit, like throw it away. So
I think it works. I think, you know, the more I think about it, you know, with the signature events being what they are, right? You get the best of the best out there in the field, playing the best golf that you can see for 14 weeks of the year. The other events, they're going to be like this. This is what golf is going to be. Like, from a viewing standpoint, for the foreseeable future. You get those signature events, you get all the big names in those, you see the big boys, you enjoy superb elite golf, proven winners, right? And then you get to events like Mexico, even events like, this week's the field's a little bit better, but it's still not something we see like, the Players the week after, or Bay Hill the week after that, right? So this is something that we're going to see every week, and I enjoy it, right? You want to see these guys who are not at, how Rory said, play better, right? I mean, this is how they do it. They have to play well in these events and get up so they can compete in these signature events and get to the big boy leagues. I'm beginning to turn around on this. As long as, the only thing I would change is 80-man field with a cut to 50.
Yes.
For the signature events. You do that, and then keep everything else the same. Okay, you're gonna have these weeks where you got the guys going out there. It's not like you get huge games, every night in hockey, huge games every night in baseball, right? It's like a few times a year. You're going to get, big games, even in football, right? I mean, a few times a year, you're going to get those really huge games, Monday night football or Sunday night football, right? I mean, those are supposed to be like the games of the week. You only get about 18 of those, right? Out of the whole year. Okay. So golf can do that too. You get 14 events that are just huge, right? You get all the best out there, and you get 4 of those where it's the best from all over the world with the majors. And maybe that will change. Maybe it'll be more coming up soon. Tiger was actually taught a little lesson at the local Topgolf on my house when he met with Trump this past week at the White House. So that was pretty cool. I know some people who worked there, and they got to see him, and they said they left him a huge fatty tip. Like they left I always thought Tiger was in the mold of Michael Jordan, where, just a cheap guy. But from what I heard, again, I don't know if this is 100% true, but from what I heard, that he tipped the entire staff that was working that day and gave them a lot of money. So kudos to Tiger for that.
Let's go.
But, you're going to see these events, and I don't mind it being those 14 events a year where we see the best. Just give me a cut. And these other events like Mexico, like the events we're going to see Valspar, Houston, during the Texas swing, stuff like that is how you're going to see people elevate themselves to that next level. And sometimes that's just as much fun to watch than watching the top guys, right? Because first off, you're going to see these guys struggle more. And if you play enough golf, the struggles that these guys have been are feeling, and these feelings that they're feeling. And I mean, it's a good watch, right? I mean, just to see the triumph in Brian Campbell yesterday, if I wasn't rooting for Paquita so much, it would have been even more joyful for me to watch what he did.
Yes.
Because stories like that are, I think, bigger than Scheffler winning the Players for the 3rd time.
Correct.
I think, guys bringing themselves and picking themselves up by the bootstrap and going out there and trying to get to that next level, where I like it. And I don't mind it. I don't mind watching it. I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament itself. I know they played horrible on Sundays, but the guys on top of the leaderboard had never won before. Like, do you expect these guys just go out there and turn into Tiger all of a sudden? Probably not. They're going to struggle, and it was fun watching.
Yeah, everything in moderation, Kenny, including moderation itself. But I don't want to watch the Mexico Open every freaking weekend.
No.
But in pieces and pieces, I will take it. I mean, it was awesome. Like, if you're a golf sicko, you've played in a few club championships or so like that, and you can feel the nerves on the first tee of the most insignificant events. Now, these guys are life-changing situations. The nerves are there. So, Pocket is going to be amazing. The 40-yard difference between the two of them on driving app.
One thing I will say about Pot Heater is it's going to happen for him.
yeah.
I'm thinking Houston, something like that, where driver heavy, you got to hit it far. Doesn't matter if the course is hard, doesn't matter if the course is easy. I think if it's a driver heavy and distance really plays a big factor, he's going to win one of those events. What we saw at the Farmers when he was in the final group and he shot, 78, 80, something like that. He had a couple of hiccups and he could never rebound from those hiccups. What he did yesterday was completely different. He started out sort of slow, had that bogey on, and he could have won 3 straight bogeys in a row. But he had that one bogey and he lost the lead. And the time prior to Farmers, he would have lost it. Instead, he makes a huge bogey putt on the next one. Would have been a double bogey, probably put him 3 down and out of contention. Especially with the way he was playing. Like, he makes a huge bogey putt. I think it was on 7. And then on 8, he backs it up with another huge par putt where, he chips it by about 8 feet. He caught the yips a little bit towards the middle of the round, but straightened himself out. Made those big clutch putts, came back on the back 9, played steady. Short game was a lot better. Made the birdies when he needed to make the birdies. On 2 of the par 5s. On at least one of the early par 5s. Then he goes on to the playoff hole and he hits
a seed.
That shot on that landed in the bunker on the second playoff hole was 2 feet from being a tap-in
eagle.
Eagle. Like, it was probably 2 feet from being a tap-in eagle. Like, the way that ball was going directly at the hole. It was a spectacular shot. And so it looks like to me that, like, each time he's been in this situation, it's only been twice, he's picked something up. And that's really huge for these younger guys. It really, really did impress me, that what he did. And the bunker shot wasn't great. That was just a lot of pressure after Campbell hit that, within tap-in distance on his wedge. That put a lot of pressure on him, and that probably got to him a little bit at that time.
Yeah.
But you can expect stuff like that to happen to these younger golfers and to golfers who aren't in that situation that often. And being able to watch that and see that, and then being able to watch some of these golfers grow, because like I said, like watching him at the Farmers, watching him last week, man, it was really cool seeing the difference in his body language, the difference, in all that when he made a mistake and he got over it and he fought back. It's really cool to watch.
Yes, Kenny. I don't want to hear what you're doing when you were 20, but just think about what you were doing when you were 20, and realize that that's the phase of his life that he's in right now. And he was so positive, and he's working with Ernie Els, chipping now. He's obviously got a technique issue that he's got a way too strong of a grip when he's chipping. So Ernie's going to help him fix that up. And once he figures that out, man, he got into a playoff and he double chipped Kenny like a fucking weekend hacker twice in the final round. He double chipped,
but then hit some really nice chips on the back.
Yes, from the tight lies, he was Gucci, and then it was the rough, the shots that were the problems because of the technique.
Well, the thing about Paspalum a lot of the time is it's not uniform, right? You could see patchiness, different levels of the grass. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, but the sky's the limit. Steven Yeager, Kenny, Alex Smalley. These are some names that
Smalley killed me. Because
he had a meltdown, dude.
I had him in as an each way also. He was looking good. Having 2 each ways would have given me a winning week. Instead, he shit the bed. Mike Kim out there just banging out top 15 after top 15. I'm really interested to see what his ownership is this week, because I don't think he's ever made a cut here.
It's not good.
So I want to see, because that could be a play. We'll see, because he ranks like top 5 in my model. But we'll get to that later on.
Yeah, we will get to that later on. Should we chat some? Where do we want to go from here? Anything else you want to chat about, Kenny?
You know what? I did want to talk about it. The Cognizant, aka an old Honda Classic. It's been 5 years since the DFS Open. So Ryan Baroff and Joe Idoni, they set this up, but go listen to their pod tonight. I think they're going to be talking about all their stories and how they set everything up, because they literally set everything up. for the DFS Open, which is something I wish that we could do again. I mean, I'm not going to plan it, but if somebody out there wanted to plan something like that again, I would be all in. I think that was a little bit before your time, right? Right, Byron?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I've
so
heard of
like,
it, but
yeah, so it was great. You got to meet all, this was back then. I mean, golf Twitter, at least fantasy golf Twitter, wasn't as, it was a little bit lighter back then. Everyone got along. Like, everyone was super friendly. It was great to meet Pat. I got to meet Jeff that week. Gup bought a huge or rented a huge Airbnb, got us all out there, had some great stories, had some cocktails. I will say, the one journalist that I hung out with, and I cannot tell the story, but I'll tell his name. Hung out with Jason Soap. And I made a pact, or he made me make a pact with him that I could not ever tell the story of our night on the town at the Honda. So I'm not allowed to tell that story, but let's just say it was a fun night. It was a fun night. So you got to meet I got to meet Rick Gaiman. So just the 5-year anniversary of that, it was extremely fun. I do remember going to the strip club, coming back from the strip club at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, and we had to leave to go play the DFS Open at 6. So
Jesus Christ,
that was not fun. I ended up playing pretty well, shockingly. I think I had to get some hair of the dog in me, and then I think I slept for 14 hours after that. But I think I played pretty well that day. So it was a good time. If we can ever get a chance to do something like that again, we should. Now, we do have an opportunity. I don't think it's golf related, but Pat is doing the Custody Awards live, as you guys have not heard, from the deck in Canada. It's going to be June 7th. Tickets are going to be on sale here soon. I know I am going. I'm sure all the Pat's people are going. I am trying to get Byron to go. We shall see. He's got the new kid. I understand. But everyone make him feel guilty if you can. But that's another thing. So if you want to get together, if you want to meet Pat, Jeff, me, Cust, all the guys at the show, make sure you go get your ticket, go to Toronto. I'll be staying at some hotel there. I'm looking at the Omni there. It looks like a pretty nice hotel for a good price. They got a spa there. I'm thinking mani pedi massage.
In-house,
you know what I'm saying?
In-house therapy, Kenny.
A little in-house. You ever get a pedicure, Byron?
No,
You need to get you never get a mani or a pedi?
No.
You need to go. I know people will laugh at me.
No, I get it.
But if you're ever gone, I understand why women like it so much. You're just basically fucking pampered, and it's great. And people rub your feet and they massage your feet and they make you feel clean. And your nails feel clean, stuff like that. I do enjoy.
And they talk shit
that
about
every
you in
now
a
and
different language too.
Well, see,
getting it
they're
done.
mostly
Chinese.
Korean. I can probably understand them, so we're okay.
That too.
Or I can so we should be fine. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go get yourself a day at the spa, you should definitely check it out. All right, so
Kenny, you were chatting about the 5-year anniversary of the DFS Classic,
DFS Open.
DFS Open, 7-year anniversary of your boy, married to Mrs. Maniac today.
Oh, congrats! What the fuck? Why are you doing the show? Hopefully you got everything set up. You got the Viagra going. You got the Cialis.
We got baby girl. We're just doing our thing. I've got the bush lights flowing.
So whenever I used to date a girl for a long amount of time, I think the longest relationship I had was like 3 years. Okay, so not too long, but like by like the second or third year, you just ain't fucking like you used to. You know what I'm saying?
The honeymoon is over.
Yeah, you just ain't fucking like you used to.
Yeah.
So what I used to do in these situations, I go to the gas station and I'd get this little pill called Swag, right? And Swag was an acronym for sex with a grudge, right? And so it was funny because like on the back, there's 2 pills. It says if you take one, it has a picture of like the girl in stick figures with her legs wide open and like flames coming out of her, out of her nether areas. And then if you take 2, basically like she's dead. Her legs are in the air and like she's dead, right? That's the back of the picture. And so every time, and it always worked. Like it worked. Like I would go for way longer than I normally would. Okay, way longer. And so that was usually one of my anniversary gifts to my girlfriends, which shows why I'm still single at this moment in my life at 44 years old, because I was not very good at being a boyfriend.
Now it's all about the rhino pills. They've got the same thing, but it's rhino, the rhino version.
The rhino horn that's literally driven one of my treasured animals of Africa into the ground, into extinction. So Kenny can have sex with a grudge. Some battles are won in the weirdest of ways. So speaking of, let's pay some bills.
Yeah, there you go. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, so we're back. I would go over the YouTube comment winner. I'm not even going to look. I didn't look. If you pick Brian Campbell,
you help.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I'll give you a year's. I'll give you a year's subscription.
They'll give you a year. I haven't even looked at the comments on YouTube because I know no one picked Brian Campbell. And we can see when you put it in and if your thing was edited. So don't try and cheat out there, people, okay? So make sure you go out there every week, pick the winner who you think is going to win the event, put it on our YouTube comments page with a way to get in touch with you. Winner will get a free month of Byron's Discord. Byron, what do you get with the Discord?
Yeah, we're going to be showing some screenshots of, you asked for the form tracker, Kenny. Remember when you wanted 12 months versus this year versus the last 4 months? Mm-hmm. I put that into the model now. So that's available to people. So anything tailored that you want, I don't have a website. I've got a Google Doc that I can make exactly how you want it. So I've got everything in there. I've got my research tool that you can see which the most profitable bets have been. I've got my actual model that's got all the proximities, all that shit. And I have got course history and just a wonderful thing going on. The community in there has been really fun. Even though we were losing the Porquita bet there, the sweat was fun to do it with the guys in the Discord. So it's been a lot of fun.
All right, that sounds good. So let's get to this week. Let's get to the Cognizant Classic. I guess we could call that. We just call it the Classic. The Classic, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Make like the stork and the pickle, like the sponsor. I don't know. You guys know Vlasic Pickles. Anyways, all right, PGA Tour moves to Palm Beach this week for the beginning of the Florida swing. PGA National's Champions course will host this week's Cognizant Classic for, I don't know, the 19th, 20th time. They played it all the time. It's going to be weird. It's still weird calling this event, the Cognizant Classic. It was the Honda Classic for so long, but of course, they're losing sponsors, and this is one of the big ones that the PGA Tour had lost. The course is best known for the bear trap, 15, 16, 17, a stretch of 3 different holes that will probably decide the winner on Sunday. Like if you look back like almost a decade ago, this one always pops into my mind. It's the Adam Scott. Adam Scott was, I think, what was he? He was 3 strokes ahead going into the bear trap on Saturday. He ended up, I don't know, quadrupling 17 or something to lose the lead to Sergio. He was up 3 and he lost the lead in like 1 hole. Stuff like that can easily happen at this course. He ended up coming back and winning, but it just shows, how quickly things can turn. The bear trap is extremely hard, but that doesn't mean the rest of the course is like a cakewalk. Holes 5 through 7 are also, it's like the 4th most difficult 3-hole stretch on the PGA Tour, some shit like that. I mean, maybe
they call it the 10. Cub trap.
Is that what they call
trap
it?
Or something like the Cubs? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough. Only 5 holes have played under par overall through the years. Those are the 2 par 5s, 1, 8, and 13. Now, last year, of course, 10, which was switched to a new par 5. That sort of changed everything. So that hole used to be the most difficult par 4 on the course. It played around a half a stroke over par. It still plays that same score, but it's 20 yards longer, and it's a par 5 now. So that did change a little bit of at least score relative to par. You saw that last year with like minus 17 winning. A lot of people in the low teens under par, mid-teens under par, and a lot of that also was weather related because you didn't really have big gusts. Like this is the place where, 30 mile per hour gusts are like sort of normal, right? Like 25 plus is like routine this time of year. And it really didn't get past 20 last year. Also, there was some rain. It made the course, they had to have a Monday finish. So that's how much rain was on the course, and it made the course play very, very soft. So no wind, softness. You're going to see mid-teens under par win this event, and you are getting pretty similar conditions as of right now on Monday at 6:00 when we're recording this show for the weather. You don't really you get like Monday morning. You got to keep an eye on for the wind. That's like 20 mile per hour gusts, but everything else is less than 20 for the rest of the week. You're getting a torrential downpour today down there, but it's been really dry there during this season up until this week, of course. But the thing is, the same thing happened last year. Last year was unseasonably dry until the week of the event. And of course, they got deluged with rain the whole week. I don't think we're going to see that much rain as we saw last week, but the rains they're having today and tomorrow could probably make the course play a little bit softer than they would like. Keep track of the Golf Channel, all that stuff. See what golfers are saying about it, because that does really, really make a difference. It goes from being like top 5 hardest course on tour to like top 15 hardest course on tour, depending on those conditions. So you just make sure you pay attention to what golfers are saying about the softness and how the course is, how receptive the course is leading up to the week. Couple of trends going in. 9 of the past 14 winners had finished 13th or better at PGA National in a previous year. 11 of the last 14 winners had made the cut at PGA National at least once. 5 of the last 8 winners have produced a top 10 finish or better on the West Coast or Hawaii already that season. So just a couple of trends. Now, last year, who won last year, Byron? I forget. Whoever won last year broke all of these trends. Okay? All right. I can't remember who won, but whoever won last year, Eckroat won last year, and he broke every single one of these trends. So, take the trends with a grain of salt. They're just for fun. People like to hear them. I don't necessarily put all of my, eggs in that basket when they come to trends. All right. So let's get to the Champions course, the PGA National. 7,180 yard par, 71 now. 3 par 5s, 4 par 3s. The 4 par 3s are some of the most difficult holes on the course, and the 2 original par 5s are 2 of the easiest holes on the course. And now, after last year, we know that 3rd par 5, pretty easy too, playing half a stroke under par. I would expect it now. The course plays even longer when you take into account that the average driving distance, average green and regulation percentage, and average driving accuracy here are well below tour average. Plus, throw in, there's 5 holes, par 4s, that are over 450 yards. So it's not a long course, but it plays long. How about that? Now, off the tee, golfers are going to see average size fairways with lots of trouble if they miss. Water, fairway bunkers, thick rough will be in play on almost every tee shot. There is water everywhere at PGA National. You're looking at like 60 67,000 water balls in the last 20 years or so. At
57
at the
67,000?
6,700.
6,700. Okay.
6,700.
Still a fuck ton of balls.
Yeah, still a lot. Still a lot. Yeah. I think it's like 67 or 7,700.
So many.
Yeah, somewhere around there in the last 20 years. So, yeah, you're going to get a lot of water now. Byron, I got a question for you while we're doing this. What do you usually look for in places with a lot of possible penalty options? Like, I always think bogey avoidance. You think that's correct? Or should you go double bogey avoidance?
Yeah, you can do double bogey avoidance, but obviously double bogey avoidance is like it's super variable. You're not going to have a massive sample size, but I guess if you're making doubles, you're doing dumb shit. I have a stat in my model, Kenny, that's called poor shot avoidance for approach, which is when you lose more than half a stroke on a single approach shot, which is typically in the water, or a very bad iron shot. That's a half a stroke you're losing. So I've keyed in on a bunch of guys that have, I'll send Mike a nice Photoshop of the poor shot avoidance guys in my model for this week, which I think will really help this week.
All right, I got to say, we're getting better. That was a nice little handoff by me to you, because I had no idea you were going to say that.
I had no idea either. Yeah,
that's awesome. I had no idea you had that on your Discord. That's very, very. That could be a very big deal this week.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because you hit it in the water, you're probably losing half a stroke minimum. Probably a full stroke. Probably.
It's
probably a full stroke.
Almost two, because you've wasted the stroke. And then you got to drop. So it's like 1.5, 1 3/4. So yeah.
Can you pull that up? And so we could go over that and talk about that during our DFS segment?
Yes, I'll pull it up and we'll get it figured out. Yeah.
All right. See, I just came out of the blue. The chemistry is getting better. There we go. I like that. I like that. All right. And so what you're going to see here is a lot of less than driving, basically. At this course, you're not going to see too many drivers. It tightens up a lot of the ways, and to avoid hitting it into these crazy areas, a lot of people are going to go less than drive. Now, on approach shots, golfers are going to see Bermuda grass greens it's Tiff Eagle Bermuda, that are above average in size when it comes to actual square feet. But don't be like swayed on that. In reality, these greens are very long, like from front to back. Right? And then they're narrow on the sides. So technically, yes, the square footage is more than average, but the landing area is very, very small at this place, at PGA National. So like less than 60% of approach shots on this course actually end up on the green. It's a pretty low number for the tour. You're going to see a ton of approaches from like 150 to 200. Those middle irons are going to get a lot of work this week. Not much wedge play at this place. You will see a couple of longer irons on the par threes, and on the par fives. But like 150 to 200, 175 to 200, those are going to be places where you want to put a lot of your research in. Also, sand play could be important. A lot of holes have water on like one side, right? And sand on the other. So like if you overcompensate to try and miss the water, you're going to hit it in a bunker. That's usually the way it works at this course. The Bermuda greens are elevated, contoured, and surrounded by bunkers, water hazards, and false fronts on almost every hole. The stip should be around 11.5. What are you looking for in golfers?
Yeah, like we mentioned already, Kenny, I think there's a 5% increase in correlation for strokes gained approach at this golf course. Like if you can dial in your irons this week, that is essential. But I also saw Drew Redkachik on X with Fantasy Golf Bag brought up the profile of 3 golfers that have won the last 3 years, how they were playing leading into this week. And it was incredible. Like they were gaining strokes pretty much across the board in multiple areas. And you have to have a complete game here, because there's so much water going on that if you're missing your drives badly, you're in shit. If you're hitting bad iron shots, you're in shit. If you're playing safe with your irons and you can't get up and down for par, you're in shit. You just have to have a complete game. And typically it's been more of a brutal test with the weather, like you mentioned. But nowadays, global warming and stuff, if you believe in that, is a thing that's causing less wind currently during this time of the year, which makes it a lot easier. So just dialing in those irons, getting him in rock and rolling, and the poor shot avoidance. I send that to Mike. We can bring that up here and chat about it, because there's some names that we really got to figure out, because you could easily get different if you find a guy that just doesn't typically thrive at these birdie fests where you have to hit good shots, gain more than half a stroke to give yourself a good birdie look. Some guys like Xander Schauffele, for instance, the reason he's got such great bogey avoidance is because his good shot rate, his rankings aren't nearly as good as his poor shot avoidance when it comes to the good shots, So some guys just play more defensively, and that suits different courses. So I sent Mike a screenshot here, and funnily enough, Will Gordon, Kurt Kitayama, Doug Gim, Grayson Sigg, Shane Lowry sitting in 5th in weighted poor shot avoidance. So that's taking how often a shot comes from a specific range, like that 125 to 200. We're going to see about 62 out of every 3 shots will come from that range. So that range and those proximities and poor shots will be used more to determine that weighting. And as a result, you get these kind of guys. A few more names: Nikolai Højgaard, Russell Henley, Seamus Power, Harry Hall, and Chris Ventura, all inside the top 10 for weighted poor shot avoidance for me. So it's important to know which guys kind of lean into playing a bit more safe with the irons versus guys that, like Tom Hoge. He's one of the best iron players in the, like Kenny, he's elite in iron play. Yet I think his best finish here is like a 34th, missed multiple cuts prior. So he's very good at hitting good shots, but he hits a lot of bad shots as well. He just hits way more good shots than normal. So it makes perfect sense.
Super aggressive, right?
Yes.
He seems like he's pin hunting
all the time,
80% of the time, right?
Yes.
And that's probably not the best idea here.
No, and it kind of makes sense why he doesn't find himself all the way down there. He's 12th in poor shot avoidance for Tom Hoge, but he's first in strokes gained pretty much like wherever you look, on approach. So, it's just a small nuance that you can kind of work around this week and get a little difference. And I've weighted it quite heavily. I switched good shots into poor shots this week. So that's a big difference I'll be looking for this week.
Nice. All right. So let's get to our Kickback Golf betting
bets.
segment. Yeah, Kickback Golf betting segment. Make sure you go to kickbackgolf.com. Use promo code FGD15. Get yourself 15% off all of their cool merch. We got the Masters coming up here soon. You can get some nice faux Masters gear because it can't be legit, or shit would happen. But you can get that. You can get that faux Scotty Scheffler green Masters jersey. It's got all the cool golfers over there. Basketball jerseys, baseball jerseys. Go over FGD15. Use that code. Get yourself 15% off. Now, who do you want to go first on the betting card this week?
Yeah, let's go ahead and knock out a couple names over here that I wanted to chat about.
You know what? Actually, before we start that, I know you were talking about something you wanted to add to this show. Why don't we add it right now? Why don't we do that right now?
That's where I was heading. And 2 of them are actual bets that I will be making this week already. But I wanted to start a segment in the show where I take the top 5 guys in the odds board and tell you how I'd bet them in placements, because we're trying to just, make placements great again. And I think it's a fun way to see how these different characters and how the different betting profiles of these guys show up. So,
and hold on. And I think you made a really good point when we were talking about this before the show, why you're picking the top 5 on the odds board.
Correct. They are obviously the 5 best golfers in the field. So if you are looking to get your hands on a bet that's not an outright on these guys, this is how I would bet them. I'm not going to bet all 5 of them, obviously, but if I were, this is the way I'd attack these guys, so that you've got a sweat going on.
Exactly. You're more likely to get a sweat from the top guys. It's just the way golf is. You know what I'm saying? That's why these guys are on top of the leaderboard. You're more likely to get a sweat from these guys. And I really like this segment when he explained it to me. So let's go over so the top 5 guys on the leaderboard. How are you doing?
Beautiful. Let's get into it. Yeah. So number 1 is Shane Lowry. And he's got a really interesting player profile because he only finishes inside the top 10 1 in every 4 starts, but he finished inside the top 20 6 out of every 10. So it's a big deal. So let's go out of 10. 2.5 out of 10 for top 10s and 6 out of 10 for top 20. So he's just finishing inside the top 10 way more often than 50%, 9 more percent there. And Shane Lowry's got great course history here. So I would bet him top 20 because his top 20 number is plus 110 out there. A plus 110 odds implies 48%. He's finishing inside the top 20 60% of the time. And Shane Lowry's finished inside the top 20 at this golf course religiously. So that's the way I'd go with him. Then going to the second guy on the odds board is Russell Henley. And I'd go the complete opposite. I used to call Russell Henley Sex Panther, Kenny, because 60% of the time he finished inside the top 20 all the time. And then his whole game transformed from a Sex Panther to like some other jungle cat that I can't even tell you what, but with short game. And his short game got so much better. And remember I mentioned last week that his ball striking finally came back for the first time since 2020. So he's lost that like ball strikingness. And as a result, he's finishing inside the top 5 22% of the time. And only inside the top 20, 44% of the time. So like he's almost, every time he's inside the top 20, half that time he's inside the top 5. So it's like a semi-simultaneous situation where he's just, when he plays well, he pops. Whereas Shane Lowry's kicking his ass in top 20s, but Russell Henley's inside the top 5 quite often. So I would bet Russell Henley, and I am betting Russell Henley, plus 450 for a top 5. So that's exactly where I'd be going. Then you get Sungjae Im, who's been one of, Mike can pull that up as I'm chatting now, I sent that to him as well. Sungjae Im has been the worst bet to make at PGA National, not Fantasy National, PGA National, because he's been ridiculous odds for the top 20 market. In 2023, he was minus 227 to finish inside the top 20, didn't cash. Last year, he was plus 170. So he's starting to get better odds again because his play's been rather poor. But if I were to bet Sungjae Im this week, I would probably go into the top 5 market there because, again, he's finishing inside the top 5 20% of the time, inside the top 10 29% of the time. So whenever he's playing well, he's playing really, really well. You know, you're looking for these gaps where guys finish inside the top 5 when they're finishing inside the top 10 all the time. So Sungjae Im is someone I would be going to in the top 5 market, similar to Russell Henley. Their upside is better than their consistency. Then I've got Daniel Berger next for the 4th placed guy on the odds board here. And he's plus 450 for a top 5. I would not be betting him at all because my model hasn't caught up to what his stuff. I use a year's worth of these top finishing rates, Kenny. And Daniel Berger's obviously not played nearly as well as he is now over the last year. You know, pretty much since the RSM, he's really shown some form, or the Black Desert. So I would encourage you not to bet him. But if you do want to bet him, I'd also go like top 5 or top 10 because he's such a sketchy play, in my opinion, because of the consistency issues. You don't want to invest as much as you would in a top 10 or a top 40,
okay.
Sorry.
One thing I will say, I'm really glad that you said that because he is on my betting card.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, he's playing great, you know, like I get it now, but I mean, you know, the placement market, what has proven consistent for me is to use long-term track records, you know, because sometimes guys find a bit of form, the books overreact, and then the number's gone, you know. So I'm not going to be laying minus 220 on Daniel Berger to finish top 40 here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not the way I'd feel comfortable going. I'd go plus 450 in that department. And then I'd go back to Sepp Straka. This guy is just ultra consistent. Top 20s, plus 130 implies it happens 43% of the time. Sepp Straka finished inside the top 20 across all the different events 45% of the time. So he's definitely doing it a lot more than he does finish inside the top 5s and top 10s, which are pretty close together. You can see on the graphic over there, there's not that big of a difference between his top 5 rate of 14% and his top 10 rate of 23. So he's easily getting into the top 20s basically half the time. So that's the way to go after Sepp Straka, even though I have bet him. We can chat about him in a little bit. But that's the edge that I would be looking at for Sepp because of that ball striking. You know, the putter can get a little wonky every now and then. The ball striking keeps him inside the top 20. So that's how I'd basically bet the top 5 guys on the odds board. Let me know if you like this segment or not. We can scrap it. We cannot. It's a little nerdy, but I'm trying to teach you guys how I go about things and just make you guys better bettors. You know, that's what the whole point about the segment is.
I like this segment a lot. We're going to keep it. I don't care what the people who are listening say. I like this segment a lot. We just got to come up with a name. We got to alive for 5, strive for 5, some shit. You think of something, we'll make it the new name of that segment.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the chat is so good at coming up with names for stuff, so they'll hit us up with something for sure.
Yeah. All right, so I'll go over my betting card for this week, and I'm an outright guy. Placements, maybe Byron will sway me, and that's why I want him to do these things, and so I can listen and maybe change my mind on the placements. The issue is I don't think I heard a word that he said during the thing, because I was looking at stuff that I was trying to get ready for the future in the show. But I will listen back. I promise, Byron. I promise. But my card, I'm going to start with Berger, 28-1, with 8 places each way. The guy's been playing really good golf. His numbers, like if you look back at his 8-week, his 24-week, his 8-round, 24-round, 50-round, 100-round, he's inside the top 10 in my model in every single one. The only person in this field that stays in the top 10 in my model, and I got like stroke gain approach, proximity from 150 to 175, 175 to 200, bogey avoidance, long par 4s, stuff like that. Basically is what you see in my model for this week. And he is the only person in the field, top 10, from 4 rounds, 8 rounds, 24 rounds, 50 rounds, and maybe not 4 rounds, but 8 rounds start. And so I'm going to go with him. He has really good history here. He almost won this event in his maiden time out, I think. Has he won year before? No. I think he's come runner up. But he had some good finishes. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go with him at 28-1 this week with 8 places. Next up, it's going to be I forgot my betting card already. Next up, it's going to be Andrew Novak at 45-1. 3 top 15s in his last 4 events played. He's like top 15 in my model. He's very, very strong when it comes to certain aspects of the game that you're going to need, like those mid irons, like 150 to 175. He's very, very good. He's also good at, avoiding the big numbers, top 20 in bogey avoidance, good around the green. If it gets windy and blows, you're going to have to get that around the green play up, and he can putt his ass off. So I like him a lot. I'm going to go him 45-1 this week. Next, it's going to be Gary Woodland at 45-1 also. Again, another guy who's played this course well throughout his career. I just smell a win for him coming soon. It's not like this guy's a scrub. He's a major championship winner that had to go through some stuff, sort of like Berger, with injuries, that brain craziness that he had, which is one of the scariest things I've ever heard in my life. And to get over that and come back to where he is now, playing exceptional golf. Iron game is strong. His tee to green has been very, very good. Again, long iron play, 175 to 200, exceptional. Top 20 in bogey avoidance, all in the last 24 rounds. I really, really like Gary Woodland. I'm going to go with him 45-1. Next, it's going to be Seamus Power, 60-1. I'm actually going to save my talk up about him for later on in the show. It's going to be a new segment on the show. He is going to be the highlight of that new segment. So we'll wait till we get to his number in DFS. But I like him 60-1 with 8 places. Next, it's going to be Sam Ryder at 90-1, another course history buff who tends to play well like early in the year. Like you catch Ryder at like West Coast, Florida, stuff like that. He seems to play well earlier in the year. He's always up there, someone to think about for a first round leader. If he goes off Thursday morning, it might be someone to think about. But again, a guy who has played this course extremely well throughout his entire career. Also, if you look at his numbers, they're not bad. His iron game has been a lot better. He's well above average in the proximity ranges that I'm looking for. Again, another guy who avoids the big number, 15th in bogey avoidance in this field in the last 24 rounds. So I like Sam Ryder 90-1 with 8 places. Then I got 2 bombs, right? Bombs.
Let's go. Okay.
I'm going Frankie Molinari.
Yes.
275 to 1 with 8 places. You saw some life from Frankie last week. First page of the leaderboard on Saturday. This is the type of course that he can win. You know, you don't have to be long. You hit it out there, hit it in the fairway, hit a bunch of greens. If you can get some semblance of 2018, 2019, Frankie in this field, 8 places, and that pays what? 55 to 1 on 8 places for him, for the each way. So I'm going to go ahead and throw him at a 275 to 1. And I'm going, David, hit the ski. Oh, go ahead.
Can I just say something on Frankie? I filtered on 3 strokes gained approach criteria. My weighted strokes gained approach for the last 12, 8, 4, and 2 months. My 12 months strokes gained from 100 to 150 and strokes gained from 150 to 200. Frankie's in top 40 for all 3 of those areas. So he's hitting his irons well, and he typically plays well on these kind of venues. So I love Frankie this week.
Like you're not gonna roster Frankie, even prime Frankie in like a birdie fest, right? I mean, you're just not. But 275 to 1 for him,
golf course.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that down for Frankie Molinari, and then I got David hit the skins at 300 to 1. Came in 4th place yesterday, last year at this event. I can get him at 60 to 1 for the 8 places. I'll go ahead and get that for 60 to 1. I mean, what's his top 10? His top 10 is probably like 40 or 50 or something like that, right? So you're getting skins? So you're getting like a lot better numbers for the top 8 if he's somehow miraculous, we saw it this past week, right? With Brian Campbell, if he can somehow miraculously get it, I mean, it's 300 to 1. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, I do have over 20% of my budget still left. Don't know what I'm going to do with that. I thought about Henley, win only, and I'm thinking about live betting. I've also thought about some other golfers, like a Denny McCarthy is very, very tempting. I'm thinking about Denny, but I haven't made that decision yet. Not really sure what I am going to do. Make sure you check out the card on my X feed. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday evening will be my final. And this week it'll probably be Wednesday because I don't know what I'm going to do with this last amount of money I have in my budget. Could be just, 2 or 3 live bets. I don't know. We'll see.
Denny, since you mentioned Russell Henley win only, Sepp Straka at Bet365 win only is 33 to 1. The best other number you can find is 25 to 1. So they've got a boost on Sepp out 33 to 1 for a guy that's won here before and won this year already. Like course history, form, and iron play. I mean, god damn. I called when I hit Sepp Straka at the John Deere Classic, I turned him into Diet Coke Iron Man with my Photoshops, and he has an Iron Man suit made out of all the goddamn Diet Cokes he's drank, and it's translated to the golf course because he's incredible. He's like Tom Hoagie light, Diet Coke like Tom Hoagie, with the iron. So from a DFS perspective, we're jumping ahead of ourselves, but he missed the cut and he was out his last event. And he also missed the last cut here. So maybe that'll bring down his ownership. I don't know. He's in my cash game cornerstone. So that probably means not, but we shall see. You shall see. But I mean, even at his price, he's getting a little disrespected here in the betting market as well. So I bet him with the top 5 as well at plus 500 because I couldn't get the each ways, obviously, in that department. By the way, your Daniel Berger, Kenny, speaking of anniversaries, the very first, I think it was 3 years ago, the very first article I ever did was for the Honda Classic. And I bet Daniel Berger to win it like 3 years ago or 2022. Yeah. So it was 3 years ago, right? When Daniel Berger went into Sunday with a 5-stroke lead. My very fucking first article, I was that's
great though.
I had a boner all week long because I knew okay, this guy's crushing. His longest putt he made was 18 inches for the first 15 holes.
Oh my God.
And he lost it. It was that time that Shane Lowry it was when Sepp won. So it was an insane, maybe we get a bit of, redemption this week with Sepp. But
if we're going with anniversaries, this is actually the 9-year anniversary of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast breaking 1,000 listeners. It was I guess it was the 8th or 9th podcast that we'd ever done. It was the 8th or 9th. It was inside within 10 podcasts, and we got to 1,000 listeners within 10 podcasts.
Wow!
When we started this 9 years ago.
That's incredible.
Well, there was no one doing it, so like no one had anything to listen to except me, us, Pat, and the Tour Junkies.
Yes,
that was like it. That was it.
Okay, I feel you. And speaking of listeners, we eclipsed the highest viewership of the year for the goddamn Mexico Open, people.
No,
we love you so much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the Mexico Open, and we had the most views on our show this year. So keep telling your aunties and uncles and the Mexican cartel all about us, because we really want you guys to.
And that's really why we're trying to add more stuff to the show. We're trying to make the show a little bit more better and not make it so. It's been so the same for so long. We've added a large betting segment, like you've seen, that top 5 segment that Byron has, and then we're going to go ahead and do another segment here in the GPPs that I'm going to come up with. We'll go about that here soon.
Yes, let's go. I'll keep putting my foot on the gas here. Andrew Novak, I'm right there with you, Kenny. Like I said, if you want to get closing line value, come into my Discord, because I got him at a 60-1 this morning, and I love it. With the 6 places each way at Bet Rivers. Great finishes here. Great finishes this year. Form, course history. Let's go. Nico Echeverria, 100-1 on DraftKings. Top 5, 16-1 on DraftKings. Make sure you kind of get that each way. And before I go into Nico, I never even had an each way on fucking Aldrich last week, Kenny.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
That's my biggest issue.
Yeah.
I wasn't, because I bet it on Sunday nights. And that it's like throwing my whole situation off, because usually I just bet the top 5 when I bet the outrights. And I completely forgot about it because there weren't top 5 markets available on Sunday. So this is my problem, is a little bit of consistent. I've been blaming bad luck, but that's fucking on me. I would have had a profitable week.
That it was nowadays. It used to make me a profitable week. Now that I jumped up to 350, is my budget every week for betting. I only get like 270 back for my each ways usually.
Yeah, but you're still not losing at all. It's like helping to subsidize because otherwise you're just loading money into your account all the time. So that was on me. I've been bitching a lot about bad breaks, but being consistent with how you do stuff is very, very important. So if I, don't do what I say, don't do what I do. Let's do what we say. Yeah. So Nico, if you think about the Zozo, if you think about the Sony, 2 times he's been literally in a playoff and won the damn thing. Very similar kind of golf courses, but smaller, a little bit more water around, coastal-ish. And I love Nico's, iron play. When he fires, and iron play is important at this golf course. So he's pretty darn good from that 125 to 200 yard range. And he's been in a playoff and won the Zozo in the last 4 months, Kenny, and he's 100-1 in this field.
Yeah. I love Nico. He along with Power were the 2 plays for my new segment that you'll hear soon. It was between those 2 guys.
Let's go. Lucas Glover, 60-1. If you're talking about iron play between 125 and 200, Lucas Glover is an incredible iron player, but his weakest area of his game is 200 plus. He doesn't have the longest length. He's that blue collar, tight draw down the middle of the fairway all the time. Perfect for this golf course. Ideally, you want a bit of a fade, but he can get it together around Jay's played well before. 60-1 on the glove, man, and his iron play has been sensational. You almost freaking won at Pebble Beach, Kenny. Another kind of similar venue, right? Where you got that mid-iron play range that he can you saw how close he was hitting those shots on Sunday. So around this kind of a golf course, I like Lucas Glover. He's showing some form. Let's see what he can get up to for us in that department. That's about half my outright budget. I've still got a couple more. I was wondering about you, and I think I might join you, Kenny, if you don't mind, on the Gary Woodland bet. I think he's trending really nicely right now, and he's super, super solid when it comes to those mid-range irons there. So I like him a lot. Cristobal Del Solar, bet 365, 400-1 for the first round leader. He was 3 under par through the first 7 holes in Mexico, and lost his way a little bit. It was a terrible tee time. It was a 3:00 tee time. So right during the wind gusts and crap like that, he was balling out. Another good round gaining strokes. So it's the second time he's gained strokes this year in the first round. Missed the cut. So, You're playing him in first round leader, 400 to 1 with the 5 places on Bet365. Other places have him at 250. I mean, literally put down $2.50 and you're making $1,000, so it's a really, really nice bet to make in that department. Minwoo Lee, Kenny, top 30s, minus 105, betting it to win 2 units. 19 of Minwoo Lee's last 25. So you go to Data Golf, you click last 25. You can count 19 times he's finished inside the top 30. He just does it. This is Minwoo Lee's thing. He doesn't finish inside the top 5s, but he finishes inside the top 30 a fuck ton. So
I mean, any course where you take driver out of his hand, I think it makes it a lot easier for me to swallow Minwoo. That sounded really gross, but like he has that driving iron that he can hit like 260, 270, 280, and he's a lot more accurate with that driving iron than he is with the big stick. With his driver. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think last year he played the par 5s almost a stroke better than birdie. He was playing them at an insane clip. That's how he got to the top of the board. He was over par, I think, on the week on the other holes, the par 5s. That's where he did all of his scoring. So, that's a nice sustainable way to get your scoring done is on the par 5s. Christian Bezaid note, in his last 24 starts, one of them's a WD. 21 top 40 finishes. He's minus 105, plus 100, whatever you can get out there for a top 40. 21 of his last 24 finishes have been top 40s for Bezzy. He just doesn't finish inside the top 5 much, but he's the ultra professional. He's the antithesis of Aldrich. Zero power, safe, reliable, consistent. That's exactly what you want around this kind of a golf course. And he's played well at TPC Sawgrass, those kind of things. Nice to see. Kenny, you mentioned a long shot. How about David Lipsky? 25 to 1 for a top 10. He's finished inside the top 10, 18% of his starts the last 12 months. A couple recently in the fall swing. If you go and take a look at strokes gained approach this year, David Lipsky is on fuego right now in the ball striking department. He's 6th, 7th in this field on approach. David Lipsky, $6,200, 25 to 1 to finish inside the top 10. I love it. He just cannot putt. That's his biggest issue. He's literally one of the worst putters in this field. But even though he's that bad, he still sees a big improvement on Bermuda greens. So you can definitely see some love over there. Give me him for a massive top 20 bet. I think you can really get frisky with the 25 to 1 top 10. He pops every now and then, and he's hitting his irons so well at the moment. In some other news, I'm taking Seamus Power, Kenny, for a top 40 because Seamus Power hasn't finished inside the top 5 in the last year. So I know your boy's coming up here in the next segment, and he's only finished inside the top 10 5% of the time. But top 40s, 7 out of every 10 starts. He's finishing inside the top 40. We're getting a plus 100 number on him. That's a 30% edge. It's like almost worth betting 2 units to win 2 units. So I will be betting 2 units to win 2 units on his top 40 number in that department. Like I said, Shane Lowry, top 20 bet, and Russell Henley, top 5 bet to round it out. And you know what? Fuck it. He has one more for you guys. And this is the craziest one. Bud Cauley, Kenny, has finished top 5, 7% of his starts. Top 10, 7% of his starts. Top 20, 7% of his starts. Top 40, 41, 61% of his starts. He's finished top 40. Like, he's had one really good round, one tournament, and the rest of the time he's just been like this busy, consistent situation. So give me Bud Cauley for minus 110, top 40. I mean, that is the craziest lack of upside, but insane floor you can ever find. So Bud Cauley, very consistent in that department. So I'll give out a few more bets as we go along into my show, 7 Eastern on Mayo Media Network on Tuesday nights, live. You can ask me to deep dive anybody that you want. I will bring up any data that you're looking for these guys. This week with the approach proximities and the poor shot avoidance, I can bring those names up for you guys. However you want, we can deep dive those guys on the show at 7 Eastern on Tuesday nights on Mayo Media Network live, baby. Kenny, time for blood, sweat, and DFS tears, baby. Let's get into this thing with the top 10K range over here. I know you don't have any. Yeah, Go ahead.
So, I mean, we only got 2 guys up here. Let's go ahead and combine the 9 and 10K range. My first cash game cornerstone.
Let's go 95 and up.
95 and up. So my first cash game cornerstone, it's going to be Daniel Berger at $9,900. We've already spoken about him already. I think he actually makes for a decent better fish play. Like someone you bet, maybe playing cash, but you fade in GPPs because you know he's going to be extremely highly owned. And honestly, this event here is where chalk goes to die. Like through the years, like the 6 of 6 percentage at this event is probably one of the lowest that there is in any tournament all year. Now, I still think everything points to him playing well. Like he would just have to play poorly, have a really bad week to miss the cut, I think. But we've seen that happen a lot, especially on the course with this much trouble, right? Yeah. Even a guy coming in solid form and coming in and shit the bed really easy with like a 3 or 4 hole lack of focus. That's all it takes.
Literally.
That's all it takes is maybe not even that much. Maybe like 2 or 3 hole lack of focus can eliminate you from this tournament. And so through the years, you know, I mean, the chalk has been here to die, but I'm going to go ahead and eat it with Daniel Berger for cash. Because of his course history, the way he's been playing, the way I think, you know, a win is coming for him soon, right? You know, his iron plays improve. His tee to green is excellent, right? He avoids the big numbers. He's really good for the proximity ranges that we're looking for. Like everything fits the bill. So I'm going to go ahead and bet him, and he's going to be my first cash game cornerstone. Other guys, I like Henley. At the very top. Again, it seems like he could be chalk if he's super chalky. And again, I only make 2 GPP lineups now. So
I had a question for you on that, Kenny. Where chalk goes to die and where pivoting is a great way to potentially win GPPs this week, you know, because you're going to need variations of things. Are you interested in maybe changing up your process to go from single entries, just having 3 lineups, to maybe doing 20-ish or adding a few more combinations or variations of guys you can find at a course like this?
No, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, if I cash in the $100 single entry, I think you know, at some point in time, it's only 600. It's funny. This week it's 666 entries.
Yeah,
I don't know if DraftKings did it on purpose. Number of the beast. You know, I probably have a better relationship with the guy down there than the guy upstairs, so maybe it would help me. You know, I don't know, but yeah, that's how many entries there are in a $100 single entry. And first place gets 10K. So I'm only going up against 600 guys or 660 guys. Yeah. Okay. And you know, if the 6 of 6 is 2% or 3%. In the $5, it'll probably be less in these smaller entry, you know, single entry type deals.
Where chalk is even more popular because people are scared. They play safe.
Yes, exactly. And so what I normally do in situations like this is I will eat the chalk that I think can win, that it's going to be elite. The chalk that I try to avoid would probably be in the 7K range, in the 6K range, and maybe even in this field in the 8K range. You know, those are the ones where, you know, these guys aren't as consistent as the other guys. That's why they're priced as such. And so more than likely, just common sense wise, you would think that, you know, that they're $7,800 for a reason. Right. And not $8,500, even though the stats might match up. It's consistency. It's how they do on a week to week basis. And if they can keep their play going for an extended amount of time. And so I just think it's easier for the guys like that to shit the bed. I think, and you know, you can use the pricing for that to your advantage because, you know, they price it correctly. The guys that are least consistent get priced lower. And I think that's an easy way to try and avoid traps, especially, you know, in that 7K range. And that's probably where I'll go. Like I wouldn't fade Henley. If you love Henley and you know he's going to be 24% owned, but you think he's your favorite play on the board, I'm not fading him. Right? I mean,
I don't think he's going to be more owned than Shane.
You don't?
I don't think. I think Shane will be more popular than Henley.
I haven't heard much love for Shane. I've heard a lot for Henley. It'd be interesting.
If someone tells you on a podcast that Shane Lowry's finished 4th, 5th, and 2nd at this golf course the last 3 times he's played, what are people going to,
That used to affect me a lot more than it did. And that used to affect the DFS players in general a lot more than it did. It doesn't as much anymore. Course history, like successful course history.
Ownership pulls around course history, though.
It does, but not as much as it used to. Sure. It does. It still does, but not as much as it used to.
Yeah. I mean, Russell's got great course history here too, but it starts in 2021. Like Shane's played 3 great rounds or tournaments since then, So depending how you're looking at it, I love Russell Henley this week too, Kenny. I think it's like basically Wildlife Country Club 2.0 for him out in Florida. Yeah. So let's do Russell. I think Russell stands a better chance of winning this tournament than Shane. 2 perennial choke artists at the top here. You potentially could fade them both, and find a winner in the 9K range, like a Sepp Straka. Does Taylor Penrith get across the line this week? He's been playing consistently good golf the last little while, but not necessarily the greatest on approach, Kenny, from 150 to 200. But he does play well on these positional golf courses. What you doing in the 9s here?
Straka is my second cash game cornerstone. Everything you said. Plus, you get a little bit you get upside too that he can win. Even though he missed the cut the last time he played, and he missed the cut the last time he played here, I don't care. The guy is proven to be just below the elite guys, probably, right? He's in that atmosphere. Now, I think, in my opinion, like when you see him on the leaderboard, he's probably going to stay on the leaderboard. Is what I see. And again, his iron game is exceptional. He's the best in the field from 150 to 200 in the last 24 rounds, according to my model. He's really good on the long par 4s. I'm going to go ahead and just get Straka as my second cash game cornerstone. I really like Denny. I said that he's going to win an event soon. We almost saw it, a couple of weeks ago. Now he's getting back to his home, Bermuda. You get to see him. His iron game has been spectacular. And that's the one thing that he needs. He needs to win. And if you can keep that iron game up, I mean, look out. The reason I didn't bet him is because he's never won. And maybe I bet a few guys that haven't won before, but I don't know. There's something about him. But I'm thinking about maybe making him that final bet. I don't know, but I really, really do like Denny McCarthy.
Denny McCarthy's strokes gained approach over the last 12-8 for 2 months, 18th in this field. I use 12 months for all my proximity numbers, Kenny. You need a big sample size. I don't fuck around with small amounts. Denny McCarthy's outside the top 40 pretty much for every metric inside 200 yards. Yeah. The only one he's not is poor shot avoidance from 150 to 200. 22nd in the field. And that's for the last 12 months. You know what I'm saying? So he's a very tentative guy when it comes to approach play. He's 74th in good shots, 22nd in poor shot avoidance. So this is the perfect golf course for him, in my opinion. And, a great second guy into your lineup. I will agree. I think Benny On, Kenny, is going to be the lowest owned option in the 9,000 and above range, and will be warranted because he's played like shit the last little while. But I love his course history. He's played well his entire career when he was not nearly as good a golfer as he is now. And the ball striking's been there. It's been the putter that's been atrocious. So maybe some good Florida PGA National love for Benny On as a pivot option for me, instead of Keith Mitchell. I think I saw Keith Mitchell come out at 28-1 to win this tournament. It's like, brother, what? No. Yes. No. So
I glanced. I tricked my mind into just skipping his name and not reading it because I went through the odds all morning and I didn't see his name. I think I got my brain finally locked down to just ignore him on the betting card.
Yeah, as you should. This year, Kenny, we've been betting him top 20s. He's finished 30th, 21st, 33rd, 25th. He's just become the just a magnet to not finishing inside the top 20 anymore. So I think the course issue is going to carry a lot of weight. I like Benny on as a pivot in that department and a lot of Sepp Straka. In the eights, Ken, we got Max Griesemann. I think not the greatest course fit, but did finish 47th here last year before he became one of the greatest putters in the world. We are no longer on that POA surface that he's might have been struggling with a little bit the last little while. We get some Bermuda love for Max Griesemann now at 8,700 odds. I think I'm going to be going to him in that department. I think Jordan Spieth, after a great finish at where? The Waste Management.
Oh, Waste.
You know, I think the chalk. Remember we said the roller coaster with Spieth. You'd ride that roller coaster on your own. I think at this price, after the recent form, at a golf course like this with Jordan Spieth with water, you can't escape from water. You escape from the desert. You don't escape from water, buddy.
That's
you are
true.
under the water. You know what I'm saying?
True. Now, the only thing, playing devil's advocate, I would say that he's not going to pull out the driver very often. But he's going to have to.
Also, still Jordan Spieth.
He's also going to have to pull it out probably 4 or 5 holes still, right?
Still.
Yeah, still a little bit worried. 8K range for me. My third cash game cornerstone's Novak. Well, we already talked about him. So at 8K. Here's the thing. Michael Kim, course history here, horrible. And this sort of goes into my new segment. I'll just talk about the new segment now. So I'm going to do a new segment. It's called The Hustler. The Hustler segment. It's basically going to be a guy that either is going to be, that I think will be low owned either because of poor stats, poor form, poor course history, for some reason that this guy is not going to be owned as much as they should be. And, other guys that we could think of, in this would be like Mike Kim, is one that I would be talking about right now, because he's never made a cut, or he hasn't made a cut here in a long, long time. But I'm thinking about playing him. So the Hustler pick of the week will be later on. But that is going to be, and the reason why I call it Hustler is because, Pool Shark, you sort of sandbag, right? And you get that ownership down, but then you come out and you hustle everybody and you get that top 10 on the leaderboard without that high ownership, without people thinking that you're going to be where you are. So it's going to be the Hustler segment of the week. Mike Kim was a nominee. I'm thinking about it, man. I'm thinking about, even though I'm only making 2 lineups, GPP lineups, I think I think people will see. Here's the reason why I didn't make him the official Hustler pick of the week is because I think people will know that his current form is so good that he still will garner maybe low double-digit ownership. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe low double-digit, but he won't be chalk. There's no way he'll be chalk. So he's definitely, a Billy Walters Hustler for sure there. I think that's not the worst way to look at it for sure, Nate. Patrick Rogers, Kenny?
I thought about him.
That guy. He was elite all week in Mexico ball striking. Could not make a putt. Make a putt. So, I mean, he's coming in here with incredible form on the ball striking front. And, he's also got a little bit of that hustler mentality. Yeah, 64th and a miscut in these last 2 starts. I don't mind him as a pivot option as well. Andrew Novak going to be in the mix for sure for me. I think he's definitely someone I'll be looking to in the 8s.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Novak there. I mean, what about going back to Eckroat as like a pivot? I mean, going to the defending champ as a pivot from possibly a very high-owned Novak, who, again, I'm going to play in cash, but I don't think I'm going to play in GPPs again. So it's either I'm going to win in cash and not in GPPs, or win in GPPs and not in cash this week. It's basically what it's going to happen. Unless something like last week happens, because I had 2 top 70 lineups in GPPs with my cash lineup and my GPP lineup, but I don't know. It could be something to pivot to, because, I mean, the guy is good. That card is just good.
Nice. I never get him right, unfortunately. I mean, and there's a lot of, Jesus Christ, if looking at his form, it's 15th, 13th, and miscuts since 2025, and then a miscut and a win here. So that should give his ownership a lot of pause. I think people won't be looking to get in on that because that's scary. But at a venue like this, that's exactly what you want. Like the best guys are going to miss the cut anyway. So why not take a guy that when he's going to make the cut plays incredibly well? I'm with you there, Kenny. I'll add him as a $8,100 play. In the sevens, we got some blue-collar sons of guns over here with some Lucas Glover. Brian Harman has been sneakily hitting his irons very well. And now we get to a golf course where that distance off the tee is not going to punish him as much. He's got putrid performances here with 2 missed cuts and a 47th as his best finish since 2019. But this year, Sony Open 21st, Waste Management 25th, Genesis Invitational. The Genesis Invitational at goddamn Torrey Pines, Brian Harman finished 17th. So I love Brian Harman in the 77 range over here, along with some Lucas Glover for sure. And then I think Jonathan Vegas is my better fish bet of the week for a top 40, because Jonathan Vegas, Kenny, has finished no worse than 42nd in his 5 appearances around the Cognizant, but no better than 16th in 5 appearances.
Yeah, Vegas is in my cash lineup. I mean, I got to put him in there, but he's not my final cash game cornerstone. My final cash game cornerstone is going to be Lucas Glover at $700-800. So a lot of chalk I'm writing. Like if you want to play the game that I was talking about earlier, like avoiding the chalk, don't play my cash game cornerstones because those are going to be the chalkiest guys out there. Again, I don't like taking too many risks when I play cash, and that's just what I'm doing. These guys grade out well. They passed the eye test. They passed the model test. They're all top 15 in my model. So I'm going to go ahead and go with these guys. For the most part, all of them have good course history. So the cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Berger at 9,900, Straka at 9,400, Novak at 8,000, who finished 6th here last year, and then Glover, again, who's made a shit ton of cuts here in the past. So those are going to be my cash game cornerstones. Now, I've been teasing it all day. So we are going to do Kenny's Hustler play of the week. Mike, hit the music. I love this song so much. The reason why I put this play in is because I just want to hear this song every single week on my show. We'll see if YouTube allows it. But my Hustler pick of the week. So it's going to be Seamus Power at $7,300. Now, here's the thing about Seamus. He's played this event 3 times, missed the cut every single time. Never made the cut. It's not just a one-off. It's not just a 2-off. 3 straight times he's played this course, he's missed the cut. Like Byron said, a lot of ownership goes around history. But the thing is, I'm gonna play him. I'm gonna play him this week. I like him a lot. The thing about it is, if you look at it, his mid-iron play extremely strong. Right? He also played this event from 2017 to 2019. He hasn't played it since. First off, it's a whole different course with that par 5, scoring just a little bit easier. I wouldn't say a whole different course, but it seems like it's been playing easier the last few years. Okay. And he's a different golfer now. He's a poor winner. Right? And so I'm going to go, I like him, 7 top 25s in his last 10 events. Like, you don't think his form is like very good. Like, you don't hear people, clamoring on about his recent form. But since the fall, 7 top 25s in his last 20 events, $1,700. 18th place is not horrible, right? For DFS, it's not the worst. So I really like him. Hustler play of the week, Seamus Power, $7,300. I love Rick Ross. All right. Other guys, I'm playing Gary Woodland. I already spoke about him. I'm definitely going to play him. I like Højgaard. There's a lot of people here in the 7K range that are doable. I mean, Højgaard played really good last week. His mid-iron game has been really strong in the last, I'd say, in his last 24 rounds, just looking at his numbers here. Second from 175 to 200 in this field in the last 24 rounds. His iron game is second in this field last 24 rounds. 5th in bogey avoidance last 24 rounds.
6th in poor shot avoidance.
Yeah. I mean, there we go. I mean, Højgaard seems like a guy I love. A lot of people love Lee Hodges this week. Like, I know Ben Coley has him on his card. Ryan Baroff has him on his card. Somebody else that I know has him on his card.
Yeah.
I mean, like, these are guys that are smarter than me. Now let's see what his ownership is, right? I don't know if his ownership still gets that high up there. What do you think?
I think he's been just playing too well, Kenny, to like not make it on the card. He's got a 9th here in 2022, a 14th in 2023. Then he missed the cut last year, but he's got a 9th at the Farmers, a 10th at the Sony, a 5th at the RSM. So I mean, we got good form, good course history. That's the combination to succeed, but it's also PGA National.
I think I might just put him in cash.
Yeah.
All right. Just make my cash line just chalk city.
Chalk
you
city.
know what I'm saying? Like if the chalk hits, I'll be good to go. And then the GPPs, I'll be different. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else do you like in this range? I mean, Vegas is going to be there with the course history.
Bezzy is elite on Bermuda surfaces. He's very, very good putting on Bermuda. And now that we've come from Poa and past Palom on the West Coast, we're finally getting on the East Coast now, where all the Bermuda is in Florida, and Bezzy's so goddamn good in that department. He's also one of these guys that's just the strength of his game is the wedges, 9th in the fielding proximity from 125 to 150. Love to see that from the Bears, man. And then just avoids the poor shots, at a very decent clip too. So gonna lean on that putter, avoid the disasters, and off we go. Doug Ghim, Kenny, 3rd in weighted poor shot avoidance. This dude is incredible, and he's also similar to never wanting to get himself into the mix, but he's ultra consistent when it comes to finishing inside the top 40s, and very, very good with that $150 to $200 yard range. CT Pan, this dude he's played well at this golf course before, and he's sneaky with the mid irons too. I think you can find CT Pan on a couple of my lineups going forward. Joel Damon went and started training like a Navy SEAL, and now he's turned into a sniper on the greens. Like every time they tuned into Damon last week, he was making some 59-foot bomb, just every single, and hitting the back of the cup, going up in the air and back in the hole. Like he was putting his brains out, but he's actually a very, very good iron player. His iron metrics are incredible, and he's very accurate off the tee. And he's had a couple top 10s now in his last few starts. $7,000 for Joel Damon, who's going to be a Netflix star once again. And speaking of Netflix, go keep an eye out for some fantasy golf degenerates coming to Netflix maybe soon. You never freaking know, which drops tonight at midnight Pacific. So fun stuff. Kenny, any other names to speak about as we're getting out of the sevens? Yeah,
I like Nico a lot. Here, he was at 7,300. I mean, with his middle iron play, you know that he could win. I like Nick, and 7,300 seems like a really, really good price. And he's like the best in the field from 150 to 175 in the last 24 rounds. He's been putting his ass off. Also, he makes sense. If Eric Cole's going to win one,
it's this one.
This seems like it could be the event that he wins. And there's a few reasons. I've said that, since the last year or so, that this seems like a perfect event for Eric Cole. I think I've probably said on his former pod that I'm going to bet him at the Honda. But now he's sort of flown by the wayside, right? Because, he had a good finish at Sony, but he's not like everyone's darling anymore.
22nd at Pebble.
I'm sort of liking Eric Cole this week at 7,200. He's someone that I think I am going to play. And this 7K range is not bad. They got a good amount. And the top of the 6K range, even if it go down, I mean, you didn't even talk about Sam Ryder, who I'm betting, I like this week at 7,100. Grayson Sig, 7,100. I mean, just going down to the 6K range, I like Matteo Manacero. Again, with his mid iron play, he didn't really play that well last week, but now he's coming in. Maybe he's got some rhythm playing a couple of weeks in a row for the first time in a while. Chan Kim he's at 7K, but again, well above average with his mid irons. His iron game is solid, pretty good on long par fours and around the green. I like him. Who else? Max McGreevy. Down here is another guy who I would look at 6,700. Who do you like?
I love Matteo Manacero, Kenny. This is finally the one golf course that he's got no distance off the tee, and he's basically a Russell Henley equivalent, Italian version of Russell Henley, and I love this golf course fit for him. If you think about what Russell Henley does well, Mayo does that kind of stuff. Antoine Rosner, insane. He's probably one of the best DP World Tour iron players there is, and he's $6,800 at a golf course where iron play is way more correlatory than most PGA Tour venues. So he's absolutely in the mix for me. If you're looking for someone who's making some cuts and cashed I think a top 40, last week at the Mexico Open, Quade Cummins, 32nd at the Mexico. He's $6,800 and plays some solid golf on the Corn Ferry Tour in that department. Justin Lower, if you're looking for someone that provides you with insane upside in the 6K range, Justin Lower has a third place finish at the Amex and a second at the WWT. Was anything good in between that? No, but that's why he's $6,000. So if you're looking to play a few more lineups, you can throw him in there, and he can be one of these guys that can definitely finish inside the top 5 for you at cheap. I think Mark Hubbard is a cut-making machine at this golf course. He hasn't missed a cut since 2020. He's $6,700. So I think he's someone you can look at. Henrik Norlander, Kenny, a 6K hustler. Never, ever made the cut here since 2019, hitting his irons immaculately. So if you're looking...
Dude gained like 975 strokes with his irons last year.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not even joking.
He's very, very good.
Yeah. He gained like 10 strokes with his irons last week.
Yeah.
10 strokes.
It's
with his irons where everybody's hitting a bunch of greens. How is that even possible? There has to be an error.
No, he's so good on Paspalum as well. He's so very good. He was the problem with him is putting. He'll miss all of those birdie putts.
0.7 strokes putting
on Paspalum,
last week.
So, yeah, I think you can find some love there. Tristan, Kenny, I bet 2 matchups last week. Those 2 matchups were only beat by 3 other people on the entire golf course on Friday. Both the guys I bet against in the matchup shot -6 that day. One of them was Tristan. So he fucked me. But we're going to go back. I know, bro. This is the shit that happens. So it's the only good round he played, but $6,500 is someone that I'd be looking at for Tristan. I mean, this guy's got incredible pedigree, and he's found a bit of form. His first cut he's made on the PGA Tour this year. So Frankie Molinari, Kenny, $6,300. David Lipsky, $6,200. I think he's definitely in the mix for me. So there's a lot of decent names down here. And then if you want to throw Will Gordon in there, who's very, very good at avoiding those poor shots, hey, let's see what you can say. So,
except last week on the back nine.
Yeah, you live and you learn. Chalk Will Gordon's going to get you in Mexico.
Yeah, I know, right? One and done, I'm going Burger or Power.
Burger or Power, okay. And they provide you with a bit of both for your slider situation.
I mean, last week I said go Curry Power, and they finished 4th and 10th.
Yeah.
And I didn't go with them. I went Jaeger. And Axe instead, and so I lost a point because I think Rye finished 4th, Jaeger finished 6th. So
that's what you get, Kenny, for going back on your word.
The guy who won the week used Curry Power. I don't know if you listened to the pod or not. But you get a bonus for winning the week. And he was the lowest for the week, and he used my picks. And I didn't use my picks.
Well, there we go. What are you doing, Kenny?
I have no idea, bro. I have no idea.
All right. I'm probably going to go with Glover at $7,800. Complete off the charts, off the rails. I think he'll be low owned, and I think he's got a good chance of winning this thing this week. So, I got my one and done tool in my Patreon, which you can find at The Model Maniac on Patreon. You can find me at The Model Maniac on X. Comment below, get that free month in the Patreon. We love having you guys in there. Amy's been fun. We're still waiting for Joanne to get in there, but it's going to be a great, great week. Always use code FGD15 over at Kickback Golf to get yourself 15% off there, because it's Masters Week coming soon, So we're within less than 50 days now. And use code Mayo as well for a $1,000 deposit match on your first time deposit bonus over there.
At Underdog.
At Underdog. Yes.
Find me on X, man. That's it. Just find my shit on X. Kendo VT. Find my shit.
We've been pumping out some really good content. Mike's been crushing the X game on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates. So at FG Degenerates on X is where you can find our Twitter account for this podcast, which we'll be posting all of our picks and pick'ems as we go along. If you're looking for one hub, that's where they all are.
All right, that sounds good. Let's win some motherfucking money, peoples. Peace.
Degen Nation.